podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our Quick Publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello and welcome to the Daily Red, your lunchtime catch-up on all things Liverpool FC on a Thursday afternoon, which isn't lunchtime at all, but I was waiting to see if any news broke, and none has. Richard Hughes, it is 4 p.m. on August the 1st, and we are now all watching our watches and our calendars because you said August would be busy. So please don't let us all down. We beat Arsenal 2-1 last night in a game in which they had much closer to a full-strength team than we did. We lined up with Quivin in goal, Bradley right back, Tsimikas left back, Quansah and Sepp Vandenberg in the middle, Dominic and Curtis as a double pivot, Harvey in the 10, Mo on the right, Carvalho on the left, and Diogo Jota up front. Arsenal had Karl Hein in goal. They had Ben White, their first choice right back. They had Kivor. They had Gabriel, their first choice centre back. They had Zinchenko, who has been first choice quite a bit for them. Probably not this season, but has been. They had Odegaard, who's obviously first choice. Thomas Partey, who's been first choice when fit for most of his tenure there. Kai Havertz, who is first choice. Reece Nelson, who's obviously not. Gabriel Jesus, who has been for much of his time there. And Martinelli, who is first choice. So, a much stronger team for Arsenal than for us. And in the first 10 minutes, they looked more cohesive, more put together. And then we found a bit of rhythm and a bit of groove. And we saw some really interesting tactical tweaks in our system. We saw some development in the rotations. The front four of Salah, Jota, Elliott and Carvalho, very, very flexible. A lot of movement there, particularly from Carvalho, who was playing a left-sided role, but not as a winger. More as an advanced midfielder, almost a second number 10, but stationed on the left. He was drifting in field quite a lot, combining with Harvey, getting into central areas. He would tuck in and form a midfield three with Dominic and Curtis. A lot of people seem to be questioning the fact that he wasn't taking on Ben White last night. That's not the role. He's not there as a winger. He's there as a secondary number 10. You can see from how that game played last night why Arne has said, I think Carvalho works in this position. You can see why we have reports of Szoboszlai training in this position. It's a position that would lend itself really well to what Dominic can offer. It is the Paxio role. So my assumption had been that he would flip his wing roles and move the Minter role from the left to the right, and that would be Luis Diaz, and move the Paxio role from the right to the left, and Mo would play there as a second number 10, playing narrow, playing in the half space, linking up, coming centrally, more freedom, more movement. But it appears like he's going to keep his wingers, for now anyway, the same way he had them aligned at Feyenoord. And if that's the case, then the obvious starter there, if it's not going to be Dom, if Dom is the 10, the obvious starter on the left becomes Cody Gakpo rather than Luis Diaz. Because Gakpo's skill set will lend itself more to that role than Diaz's would. Now that could potentially mean that Diaz becomes the primary backup for Mo on the right-hand side. Will that work? No idea. Diaz hasn't played a ton of right wing in his career, but we did see flashes of him there for us, and he has been quite good. He's obviously not going to be the goal threat that Mo is, but as a ball carrier, a dribbler, and someone that can get to the end line and get the ball across, he could have value in that position. So I thought it was interesting to watch. I thought there was a number of times where Harvey moved into almost the number 9 position, like a false 9, with Mo and Jota either side of him. And you could see that working in that alignment. You could see it working with Szoboszlai in that false 9 role. Mo and Jota, Mo and potentially Darwin, I think more likely the starter. I think that works really well. It does create some interesting questions. Like I say, I think as I was watching that game last night, I just kept thinking Dominic would absolutely fit like a glove in this left-sided role. He would be absolutely outstanding here. I'm watching Harvey play the 10. I know he got the 2 assists. I don't think he played well. I think he made some really poor decisions. He was a little bit hurried on the ball at times. His passing wasn't crisp, other than the 2 brilliant passes he plays, which lead to goals, and the pass he plays to Jota, which is a straightforward pass, but Jota should score and should have given Harvey a 3rd assist. But I didn't think Harvey played well overall. I just didn't feel like his overall game was up to snuff. Now, it's pre-season, so he's just getting back into rhythm. And myself, Carl, and Guy were discussing this on Scouted today, and I don't know if that's going to be out by the time this comes out, but we were talking about how with Harvey, you might have to sacrifice certain things because of the potential for end product, which we know he can give. And we did see that last night with those two passes. The one to Mo is fairly straightforward, but it's the timing and the fact that he plays it first time with the right pace on it that makes it a very good pass. And then the lovely little flick ball or lifted ball over the top for the Carvalho goal is tremendous. But I was watching it last night and I was thinking to myself, you know who'd beat Dynamite in that role? Like if Mo is on the right, Dominic is in that left-sided role but coming central, and Darwin is in that 9 role but cheating to the left. That 10/9.5/false 9 type of role, Julian Alvarez would be a perfect fit for that role. It's almost custom made for him. Now, obviously, he plays for Man City. It's unlikely they would be willing to do business with us, but you just don't know. We'll see what happens. I did have a tough time picturing Anthony Gordon in that team last night. I really did. The only role that would suit him is the Salah role. But he's not good on the right. We've never seen him be consistently good on the right, or even good for more than the odd game on the right. It would take away his strongest suit, which is getting the defender one-on-one and cutting inside onto his right foot to get a shot away or across the ball. Can't do that from the right-hand side because he doesn't have a good left foot. So I do wonder where he would fit into that team. I also don't think we'll spend 80 million on a player that doesn't start for us in that alignment. You'd be looking at quite a drastic change to introduce an Anthony Gordon type of left winger with Mo, especially with Darwin as the 9. You're not having that false 9 person there like a Bobby was for us. So I really did have a tough time watching that last night and thinking, where's Anthony Gordon going to fit? It's why I don't think we've gone back to them. It's why I don't think we will go back to them. I think his agent is very busy making people believe that there's constant talks, constant movement on it. But Chris Bascombe shut it down yesterday, said that there's been no communication, no contact since June, that in June it was an opportunistic moment where they wanted to free themselves from the PSR issues. They were willing to overpay quite significantly for Joe Gomez. And it meant that we were basically going to get Anthony Gordon for 30 million. Because Gomez is our 3rd right back, arguably our 3rd left back, and our 4th or 5th centre back. He's a player that we paid 7 million for 9 years ago. Anything we get for him counts as pure profit. So it would basically be 45 million of free money versus the 75 million for Gordon. It would be 30 million for Anthony Gordon. And we may look at it and think, we don't actually need to replace Joe. We need to buy a left back. We needed that anyway. We can sell Costas or Robbo, buy that left back. We'll have that player and whichever one of the left backs is left. We'll also have Owen Beck. We've got Trent. We've got Bradley. If we need to, we can always play Stefan Bajcetic there. He's played there before. Curtis Jones has played there. Lucas Stevenson could play there. We're fine. And at centre-back, if the worst came to the worst, we could always give Amaro Nallo a chance. We could keep Nat Phillips around for a year. I don't think that benefits anybody, but we would have things we could do so we don't actually have to go and buy a replacement for Joe. We need a defender in anyway, regardless whether Joe stays or goes. But if Joe left, they might look at it and think, we don't actually need to replace him. We're actually going to be fine. We have enough players we think we can get through. Worst comes to worst, we could buy in January. So, my view on it is right now, there's nothing in that Gordon talk. His agent, I would say, I said this to Carl the other day. My guess is that when Newcastle approached us, and according to Basco, no, according to Simon Jones, they also offered us Alexander Isak. So it's pretty clear that we weren't the ones that instigated that. We didn't go to them and say, look, we want Anthony Gordon. They came to us. They also offered Isak to Chelsea. And people have said, oh, well, Gordon won't be too happy that they're shopping him around. They didn't shop him around. They offered him to us. And it's a very easy sell to him to say, look, here's the situation, right? We didn't want to sell you at all. But we were in a position where we had to raise funds in order to get ourselves in line with the profit and sustainability rules. And we looked at the options and we didn't have many that we really liked. Our preference was to sell Yankuba Minta and Elliot Anderson. But we didn't think we were going to be able to get those deals across the line in time. So what we had to do, and we didn't want to do it, was we had to put Isak and yourself on the block. But we tried to do you a solid. We knew that you didn't want to leave. But we knew that the one club you would probably want to go to is the club you supported as a kid. So we tried to make that happen for you. And as soon as we were able to sell Minta, we killed the deal because we don't want to let you go. We want you here. You're a big part of our future. Now, here's a new contract. Sign it and let's go. I think that's a pretty easy sell for Newcastle. Now, Gordon probably got quite excited about the possibility or prospect of coming to play for Liverpool. And maybe he was a little bit down in the dumps about it. And maybe he took it out on his agent a little bit. You know, you got me all excited for this move and now it's not happening. And maybe now his agent is trying to create a bit of noise to see if he can drum up some interest from us to get us back to the table. I don't think it's going to work, but you don't know. There's a month left now in this transfer window. We have to sort defensive midfield and left back. They have got to be the priorities. After that, if you want an attacker in, I think there's much better ways to spend 80 million than Anthony Gordon. But if we've got the defensive midfielder and we've got the left back in and you decide that's what you want to do, so be it. Like I say, there's others out there who, for that same kind of money, and I think you'd get Alvarez for that type of money. I think you'd get Kudus for that type of money. I think both of them are better players and fit better into what Arne wants to do, or what we're seeing that he wants to do, what he did at Feyenoord, what he did at Alkmaar. I think both of them make more sense for us. I think there's others out there as well that would make more sense for us. And I think the fact that, you know, the fact that we didn't pursue Elise, the fact that we didn't pursue Mateus Sula, the fact that we haven't publicly made it known that we're after any specific attacker, I think that is quite telling, that maybe we're not looking for an attacker. That there might be an opportunistic thing that comes up, which is what the Gordon thing would be, where we might react to it and say, you know what, let's do that. But that if push comes to shove, we're not going to go for an attacker. And Bascom said in his piece that right now the plan is none of the attackers are going to leave. They're all going to stay. And this will be the forward group moving into the year. It's an 8-man group or a 7-man group, depending on where you look at Dom. I would say 8-man. I would say you've got, obviously, Mo, Darwin, Dom, and then whoever the fourth starter is, probably Gakpo, I would say right now. And then behind them, you've got Jota, Elliott, Diaz, and Carvalho. And that's your 8. In whatever way, either Dom is the 10, Cody's on the left, Dom is on the left, Harvey's the 10, whatever. I think Mo is the one certain starter. Dominic will start, it's just a matter of where. But Mo on the left is the one thing we know will be in place in this team. The 9 position is obviously up for grabs between Darwin and Jota. And I think that's a strong group. Like, I do think it's a strong group. If we could get Alvarez, I'd absolutely do it. I do whatever it takes to get that lad in. But I do think Mo on the right, Alvarez off Darwin, and Dom in that left-sided role, I think that's dynamite. I really do think that's dynamite. And then I'd be looking at Harvey as the backup to Mo, though it's not the ideal fit if Mo is playing that high. Carvalho is the backup to Alvarez, Jota is the backup to Darwin, and Gakpo is the backup to Dom on the left. I think that's still a really, really strong group. Now, ideally, you'd move Carvalho on, have Harvey as the backup 10, and find a young winger that you can develop behind Mo, and potentially they become the successor to Mo. Yankuba Minta would have been a really good fit for that role, but it's off the table now. But I do think there's options out there for us if we want to do that. Now, we won't sign 2 attackers, and I don't think we'll sign Alvarez, to be clear. I just think when I watch that team play, and when I go back and watch more and more of his Feyenoord team and more of his Alkmaar team, Alvarez is tailor-made to play for this fella. Absolutely tailor-made. As a player that knits everything together in the front 3, front 4, makes everything so much simpler for his teammates, always makes the right decision, incredible work rate, great technical level, tremendous movement, good passer, great finisher. He'd be dynamite in that role. But yeah, so last night I just thought that attack was really interesting, especially the use of Carvalho. I thought that was really good. Dom and Curtis in midfield as a double pivot. It's not going to work in the Premier League when games are serious, but the 2 lads, to their credit, they worked their socks off. They kept the ball well, they got themselves involved, but defensively they're just not going to work as a pair. McAllister plus a new defensive midfielder is what's needed there. Then you've got Endo and Jones as the backup 2, and then you've got Bajcetic. And if he sticks around, Morton as the 3rd string pair, but I do expect Morton will leave. Bajcetic is sort of covering both positions, though more suited to cover the Alexis Curtis type of role. Wasn't overly enthused by either fullback last night. Bradley has a lot of work to do defensively. Costas, I think we all agree, just is never going to be good enough to be first choice. But they're 2 very diligent lads, and they do put the effort in. You'd never fault them on that. Costas is defending for their goal. Comedic stuff, really. Absolutely comedic stuff. But Bradley's defending in some of the scenarios against Martinelli wasn't far from comedic either. Kwanzaa and Sepp, I thought, were excellent. I thought they were genuinely excellent. Dealt with everything in the air. Dealt well with what came at them on the floor. Kwanzaa had that one brilliant sliding interception to stop a tap-in after Martinelli broke through and Bradley was nowhere to be seen on the left. Or their left, our right. They were pretty dominant in the air. Yeah, I thought both of them played really well, and I would absolutely be keeping Sepp Vandenberg at the club for this coming season. Kelleher didn't have a lot to do. He had 2 saves to make. He made them both well. He couldn't really do much with the goal, so it is what it is. I think he had 1 save to make, didn't he? He had 1 save to make. He made the save from Fabio Vieira in the second half, and that was pretty much it. But, you know, He was fine. His kicking was a little bit rushed at times. He seemed a little bit flustered by some of the Arsenal pressing, but, he settled in, and he played a key part in the first goal, obviously, with a great ball up to Jota, who laid it off for Harvey, who played that first-time pass for Mo to run onto and score, and Mo just looked like Mo of 7 years ago, 6 years ago, 5 years ago, 4 years ago, 3 years ago, 2 years ago, and last year. It's just what Mo Salah does. We made a lot of changes, obviously. I was really good to see Amara Nallo get minutes. He looks very composed, looks confident, made a good challenge in the box. Tyler Morton, not as good as he was in the first game against Betis, but made one brilliant tackle on Eddie Nketiah, folded him into a wallet shape. And Besetic came on, did okay. Nallo came on, did okay. Dullock came on. We struggled to get him involved in the game. Really didn't give him enough opportunity to attack their fullback. Harvey Blair, I thought, put in a shift, worked hard when he came on, played kind of as the 9. When we made all the changes, we went to more of a 4-3-3 with Morton and Besetic either side of Endo, and we were just in containment mode. Second half, we just basically allowed Arsenal to have the ball for the most part, but we limited them. The one chance they had was that Fabio Vieira chance, which is, given it was on his right foot, I would say it's a fairly low percentage chance. So I thought the defensive shape looked decent. I thought everybody put in the right amount of effort. Nobody kind of overdid it. Nobody injured themselves. Nobody caused any problems. Arsenal are a dreadful set of lads. Ben White, I mean, if the government introduced, the Labour government introduced a mandate where every citizen was allowed to just slap, not punch, not kick, not do anything more than slap a Premier League player. Now, I'm not talking about power slap, where you go up and you hit them with the ball of your hand and it's basically a punch. I'm talking about just a good old-fashioned slap right across the chops. I would bet that the majority of people would pick an Arsenal player because there's so many of them that are unlikable. Ben White might be the most unlikable player in the whole division. Gabriel is unlikable. Zinchenko's pretty unlikable. Havertz has an unlikable face. Odegaard, he's got a bit of a Lego head, but I'm prepared to let it fly. Martinelli's a bit unlikable. And Gabriel Jesus, he came out of the womb crying. And at some point, his face just froze into a perma-cry. All the tears dried up. Like, it may well be that as humans, when we're born, we're only given a certain amount of tears and you have to disperse them across the entirety of your life. But Gabriel Jesus had cried so much by the age of 4 that he just had no more tears left to give. However, his face stayed contorted in this perma-cry. He's a very unlikable little man. He'd be high on the list, but I do think Ben White, probably the most slappable player in the entire Premier League. And if the Labour government want to bring that in, I will temporarily move to England to take advantage of my legal right to slap a Premier League footballer by giving him just a good old-fashioned slap. Not a punch, not at the heel of the hand, nothing like that. Just a good old-fashioned slap right across the chops. This is Anfield. Liverpool's goals versus Arsenal were a perfect example of Arne Slot's new look midfield. I mean, let's all get carried away by pre-season. It's a midfield that's very unlikely to play together as a 3 at any point during the season. Endo dropped Szoboszlai's new position, 6 talking points. It was reported that Szoboszlai was seen as one of the players that could fill in as a 6 on this tour, but only on this tour. And there should be no case for him to be the 6 at any point beyond this. And there's match reports, piece about Fabio Carvalho. Arne Slot's sugar-huddled corner has Liverpool fans creating chaos or craving chaos Was interesting. Did see some decent innovation at the set pieces last night, which was good. Curtis Jones, because people are cry-arses, Curtis Jones felt he had to shoot down some of the bullshit about him being disrespectful to Jurgen, which he never was. I thought he explained himself well. Lenny Yoro is set to be out for 3 months, and Rasmus Højlund set to be out for about 6 weeks following injuries they've picked up. Looks like we dodged a bullet on old Lenny. Yeah, am I doing that right? Is that how we do it? When a player goes elsewhere and it doesn't go spectacularly, we dodge the bullet. That's what we do, yeah? Okay, cool. Arne Slot named us one thing he didn't like from Liverpool's Preseason friendly. Maybe it was Mikel Arteta's face. Let's see. What he didn't like was conceding out of the second phase of a set piece. That's good. That is really good. Good to see him picking up on the small details. That Kate Gordon can see the end of the tunnel after nightmare injuries. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. So happy to see him back and fit. 5 defensive midfield options for Liverpool this summer. I will be the judge of that. Ederson, yes, not quite what Arne is looking for on the ball, I don't think, but an excellent player. João Gomes, definitely not. Number 1, not a defensive midfielder. Number 2, nowhere near good enough on the ball. So absolutely not. Very good player in his own right, but absolutely not. Martin Zubimendi, absolutely. Yeah, I think Zubimendi and Varela are the two that are the clear standout choices. I don't even think it's debatable. When you look at what we appear to be looking for, and you read the piece from Bascom yesterday, which says that they're looking for that defensive midfielder to have playmaking ability. Varela and Zubimendi are clearly the two best options in that regard. Varela is definitely the better defensive player. He's more mobile, he's more aggressive, but Zubi's probably a notch better on the ball. Those two would be absolutely perfect. And Joshua Kimmich is the worst shout going. Number 1, not a defensive midfielder. Number 2, 29 years of age. Number 3, will want ridiculous money. And number 4, he's meant to be a bit of an arsehole, so let's pass on that. Moving on to Liverpool.com. What have you got for us? Hopes and dreams, maybe? Slotting in 5 things learned from yesterday's win. Piece on Jota. Piece comparing Arne Slot to Martin Odegaard, which let's all simmer down a little bit. Piece about the corner routine. Piece with Mikel Arteta. Mikel Arteta accused of Liverpool obsession as Arne Slot team upstages Arsenal in friendly. Now, is this going to be regarding him playing Martin Odegaard for the entirety of the 95 minutes? Only the goalkeepers played the full game outside of Odegaard. Yeah, Gary McAllister and Ian Rush basically just commented on how strong the Arsenal team were. But look, they're a little bit further down the line in their pre-season work, and they're years in under this manager as well. So, yeah, I don't know. There's nothing else really on here. The quality of Liverpool.com has dropped off drastically from when they first started, and they had a really strong team of writers and a really strong team of editors. Obviously, the money was cut back drastically by Reach PLC, but I just don't think they have the same caliber of work anymore, and certainly not the same volume either. New solution to Liverpool number 6 problem emerges. No, it did not. Jurgen Klopp was shocked by a call he got the day after announcing. So, loads of places yesterday came out and said that Jurgen had announced that he was retiring, he wasn't going to manage again. It's not actually what he really said, but I don't think he'll manage another club team. I really don't think he'll manage another club team. So, my guess is he might wait for an international job. I think if he got offered the German job in a year or two, I think he'd take it. He might sit out till after the next World Cup and then take the German job. But I think more likely he might look to get a job, higher up in a club as a, club president or something, and be able to shape the club in the way he sees a club running. I think that could be quite interesting for him. Liverpool star's wife demanded he quit Premier League, but couple set to be disappointed as ideal move fades. Former Liverpool goalkeeper and free agent Loris Karius was offered to AC Milan in a move that would have been a dream for his wife, the DAZN presenter and model Delita Liotta. According to Italian journalist Nicola Schira. Right, let's just close that quickly and pretend we didn't look at it. The transformative summer deal that saw 100 million Liverpool target available for bargain 30 million. What? Oh, this is about Gordon. Well, number one, Anthony Gordon is not in any way transformative. Number two, he's not worth anywhere near 100 million. And number three, this is just an entirely nonsensical piece. So, what are we doing here? That's Anfield Watch. Let's see what Panda Dave is cooking. See if he's got anything new for us. Probably not, because there's not a whole lot going on, but you never know. You never know. Well, Dave might have something up on the website that is worth a gander. And Arne Slot reacts perfectly to Brighton signing his former Feyenoord favourite. I assume that's Mats Wiefer. Romano talks shite about Anthony Gordon because he doesn't know anything that's going on, and he can say I'm 100% sure of that, but he's not 100% sure of anything, because unless Anthony Gordon's agent has told him and paid him to say it, which is very possible given how Romano reacts, he doesn't actually have any clue what's going on. Juventus submit bid for reported Liverpool target. Who is this? Crescencio Somerville, who was briefly linked with us, largely by Romano, of course, who, again, doesn't know what's going on. He's going to West Ham. Leeds United make move for ex-Liverpool attacker. Let's see. Right, Juventus, they've submitted a bid for Tim Koopmeiners, a player only linked to us by crappy Italian outlets. Leeds make move for ex-Liverpool attacker Ryan Kent. Interesting. He also did quite well up at Rangers. Then he moved on to Fenerbahce. He's 27 now. He'll be 28 later this year. That time has flown by. Doesn't look like his season with Fenerbahce went very well. Seems to have played about 8 league games, 18 in all competitions. Did play frequently in Europe for them, in the Europa Conference League. But yeah, doesn't seem to have gone ideally. So a move back to England might be the thing for him. What's the spoofer had to say? Let's see. I'm receiving lots of questions on Anthony Gordon, but I was only told Liverpool discussed several potential swap deals. Not that Newcastle discussed several potential swap deals. Not the specific values to be mentioned elsewhere in the media. I don't have confirmation the number's been talked about, but For sure, Liverpool wanted Gordon and they remain interested. Let's see what Liverpool do this month, but appreciation for Gordon remains. He doesn't say anything. There's nothing there. He's given an update that doesn't say anything. But people just spread it like it's fucking gospel. He hasn't said anything. Christ. Curtis Jones talking about his comments about Jurgen. There's a piece about Ben Doak. Arne Slot praises one great Liverpool star. Let's have a look here. What did I see earlier? Was it on Ben Boxack's page? Let's see. I thought I saw he'd written an article. No, it was not him. I thought I saw an article from Anfield Index about defensive midfield options. It wasn't Steve, was it? Steve Smith, did he write it? Okay. Oh, he did. There is a piece here. Ben Boxick's top 5 midfield candidates. Let's have a look and see who he has suggested. Martin Zubimendi. Yeah, I mean, that's a definite. João Gomes, hard pass. Javi Guerra, I do really like the idea of. I'm going to come back to him. Angelo Stiller, not a defensive midfielder, so no, it'll be a hard pass on that one for me. Good player, but no, he's not good enough defensively. Rocco Reitz is a decent player, but again, he needs legs around him, and I'm not sure you'd get that. Javi Guerra is really interesting. Now, you would need to mould him and develop him into that role, because at the moment he's more of a kind of midfield all-rounder, but he's only 21, just turned in May. He can play and do pretty much everything in midfield. He's a good short passer, good long passer, wins the ball really well. He's got a decent sense of position. He can cover distance. 6'2", so he does bring a physical side to his game. I would be in favour of Javi Guerra, for sure. Like, he's a much better option than someone like João Gomes. He's someone you can mould into that position without a shadow of a doubt. And with his size, that would bring some added bonuses that you don't get with a Varela or a Zubimendi, who are, 5'10", 5'11". Yeah, Javi Guerra would be well worth considering. Another name that's doing the rounds in the last few days is Lucas Gornadoit, who, again, we talked about him a lot last summer, talked about him as an option for January. Wasn't on my list for this summer, just because I didn't think they would look at somebody as raw as him. Now, he's still only 20, like, he's got a huge amount of runway ahead of him, but he's a little bit raw, but he's very, very talented. So he could be worth a definite look, and he's someone the club have looked at in the past by all accounts. So that's kind of a 4-man group. That'd probably be the extent of... I mean, Ederson as well, obviously. He's not as good on the ball, but he's not bad on the ball by any stretch. He's better than Ugarte on the ball. I would say, based on what Bascom said, Ugarte is probably off the table. Ederson is probably kind of hanging on to the edge of the table. I'd say the likes of Varela and Zubimendi and maybe Javi Guerra are probably more likely. If they might not look at Javi Guerra, but they should. They should look at Javi Guerra as an option. He is a very, very promising player and still very young, definitely moldable without question. Podcast-wise on Anfield Index, there is a new Anfield Index podcast. It is episode 390. And it is Trev Downey and Simon Brundish. Episode 391 will be out later this week. There's also the Transfer Show with Trev and Dave Davis. There is a David Lynch podcast. And there is a press conference pod from what Arne had to say about the win over Arsenal. So do check all of those out. And just to give a little nod to somebody else, just keep an eye on the Redmen over the next couple of days. I'm not going to say anything more than that, but they've got something very interesting coming. So just keep an eye on the Redmen TV over the next couple of days. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
We hope you enjoyed listening to this Anfield Index show. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel so future podcasts find their way to your device automatically. There's nothing quite like fan engagement, and we'd love to know what you think of anything discussed on this show. The best way to get in touch is over on our free Discord community, where both podcasters and listeners debate the hottest LFC topics 24/7. Sign up free now at AnfieldIndex.com/Discord. You won't regret it. You can also follow us on Twitter at Anfield Index and find us on Facebook by searching for Anfield Index. Oh, and before you go, we'd love it if you could leave us a 5-star review on your favourite podcast app. It only takes a couple of seconds, and it means the world to the people who create these free shows.
Sports Social Podcast Network.
The following is a high five moment from highfivecasino.com.
Welcome to Burger Yippee. Would you like a hot apple pie today?
Yes, yeah, I won! Woohoo!
So that's a yes on the apple pie?
I just went big time playing High Five Casino on my phone. Real cash prizes, free daily rewards, over 1,200 games. Yeah!
So yes or no on the apple pie?
Whoa! I won again!
I'll take that as a yes. Drive around.
Have you had your high five moment today? Only at highfivecasino.com.
High Five Casino is a social casino. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited. Play responsibly. Conditions apply. See website for details.
High Five Casino.